In this video, we're going to show you how to create a new tenant and a series of prerequisites in order to get that tenant created. So the first thing you're going to want to do is log into your back office. That should be the host of your SMAX cluster /BO for those that are not familiar. So in my case, OpticDev, getops.com/BO. It redirects. The username upon a fresh install is going to be suite admin. You can ask your administrator for that if you need it. And then, of course, the password set during installation. I'm going to go ahead and log in here. So in order to create a tenant, you need to create a total of 4, possibly 5 things in order to get that tenant created. The first thing you're going to want to create is a customer. You're then going to want to create an account. You're then going to want to create a user in that account, and that user will be used as the tenant administrator, and then you can go ahead and create your tenant. The potential thing that you may need to create is a license and a license pool, depending on the licensing structure. So in this case, we're going to go ahead, go up here to the top. We're going to go to customers. We can see there's one customer that exists here already. We're going to go ahead and create a new one. The new one will just be test demo. I'll go ahead and set that as the full name and the short name. I'll go ahead and save. Upon coming up, you can set other attributes here if you wanted to, and you can see that there's no accounts here created to it. So we're going to go to the Accounts tab, and then we're going to create an account. That's the second item we needed to create. Shared service type. For 99% of the use cases, you're just going to go ahead and pick standard. Provider and managed are special use cases. Most aren't going to need those. So we're going to head and create a new tenant here, or sorry, a new account. We're just going to call it test demo account so that we can separate it from the previous. We're going to go ahead and keep login name for our DB user login identifier. The customer they're going to choose is for test demo. Tier is optional. Onboarding date and region are all optional, so we'll go ahead and leave those as defaults. Go ahead and click save. We'll get our new account created here momentarily. Okay, again, there's more attributes here you could set if you wanted to. Note that there's no users and no tenants as of yet. So the third thing we need to create is our actual user that we're going to use for the tenant administrator. So we're going to go ahead and go to users, go ahead and click new. And our login name is going to be test demo admin. And our first name we're just going to set as test demo, last name as admin. Email address. So you're going to want to set this email address to an email that you can actually receive email at, because one of the first things you're going to need to do is actually set the user, set the password for this particular user. So in my case, that's going to be tori@greenlightgroup.com. And we're going to go ahead and click save. Oh, we got to choose an account. We're going to set this on the test demo account. For suite admin users, that's access for back office. For your tenant admin user, you always want to select no on that option. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. Let the user get created. In the background, I should be getting an email with a link to set that password. We'll do that momentarily. We just need to do that before we try to log in. So now that we have our user created, we can go ahead and create our tenant. So we're going to go to tenants, new tenant. The account is going to be the test demo account. The backend type, some customers may want service manager. 99% of customers are going to want SMAX as their backend type. The name of this tenant is going to be test demo tenant, and the type. This is important because this is going to have an indication as to which type of license gets applied. So there's production grade licenses, and then there's non-production grade licenses. So if you choose a type of production, you will need a production grade license. The only way to get those is to contact Micro Focus Licensing Center and get those issued directly. There's going to need to be some extra information and whatnot provided there. If you're going with a dev, internal, or trial tenant, you can go ahead and use licenses generated in the suite here. So in this case, I'm going to pick, we're just going to go trial tenant. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And our tenant now exists. No, we have no users attached to it, but there's a couple other things we want to set on this particular tenant. Specifically, we want to set our tenant administrator to that user account that we created. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and click save. You'll notice here that this tenant is not yet deployed. The status is new. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, once we have our administrator tenant admin set, we're going to go ahead and click deploy on this. I'll do that momentarily after running through these tabs here real quick. We have no license assignments. We can add licenses momentarily. Oops. If you click IDM settings, it'll take you out to the identity management console to set different identity management settings. Shared service is really if you're using the other two types, right? Remember, there's standard, there's provider and managed. So shared services for those provider and managed use cases. Capability settings, application settings. These are important. The attachments allowed to be uploaded, if you will, max size, things like that. And then operation history, which is just a historical record. So we can see that we're ready to deploy now. So I'm going to go ahead and click deploy. And confirming that that's what we're going to deploy. This will take a little bit of time here, probably up towards a minute. Oh, look at that. Can't deploy without a license. So let's go to licenses, and we're going to click add to add a license. We're going to pull it from, I don't want to pull it from that one, so we're going to go ahead and go create a new license and license pool. So I go to licenses. I'm going to go ahead and click new. We're going to set the new trial license to test demo license, and we're going to just go ahead and click premium. Our access type, we're going to go ahead and click concurrent user, start date of today, and end date of, we'll go plus 1 year. Capacity, so this is how many units or concurrent users there will be in this license, which you can then sub-delineate. So I'm going to put 100 in here just so that there's plenty of licenses, and you'll see how we split them up here momentarily. Trial license can be longer than 90 days. So let's go 21, and what was that, 11, 9, okay, 100 licenses. Does it not like that? Let's go November 1st, and that's much less than 90 days. Saving. If I would have created another license type, you obviously can have longer licenses than 90 days, but I chose a trial style license. Okay, now that we have a license, we can then create a license pool based on it. So I'm going to create a new license pool. Test demo license pool. Okay, save. Licenses. There's no licenses here. Assignments. Can we add? In order to associate the license pool to the license, you actually need to do that from the license record itself. That's why it's not showing up here under licenses. So if I go back to licenses tab and I find my test demo license that I just created, I can click on that. So now I'm looking at my test demo license here, and we have a license pool. So license pool here is going to be test demo license pool that I just created. And this should associate it between the license and the license pool. Now that that association has happened, we're going to go check the license pool, make sure that there are licenses here associated, and sure enough, there is 100 concurrent users. Okay, so now that we have licenses in a license pool, we can go back to our tenant, our test demo tenant, go to licenses, and we can add licenses. We see that the license pools that are available. You can see now that we have our test demo license pool here available. It is a trial for premium concurrent users. You can see that there's 100 licenses remaining. I'm only going to put 10 on here, so I can go ahead and assign those 10 concurrent users into that license pool. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go back in here and pick that license pool again, and you'll be able to see that there's only 90 remaining now, right? So there's the 10 that we allocated, and then there's 90 left on the total of 100 from the license that we created originally. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. With that, I'm going to go ahead and save there. I'm going to go ahead and create a new incognito tab just so I don't screw up things here, and I'll go reset the password for that user in a separate tab. Since I'm only recording the window, I can't actually show you that, but it's a pretty straightforward process. I have an email with a link in it. I click the link, set the password, and move on. So give me just a second and I'll be back. Okay, so I went and reset that password, and I realized I might want to show you a couple of other things in here. Specifically, you can have your password settings. If you go out to the identity management, you can change some different attributes about the password and the requirements of that password. Okay, so we are now done in our back office, but before I go to the back office, I'm actually going to copy this URL. This is the actual URL for the tenant, so I'm just going to copy that value, and then I'm going to go ahead and log out of my back office. I'm logged out of back office, so now I'm just going to go to that particular URL that I copied. This is the employee self-service page for that tenant. So let's see, our test demo admin, I believe, was our username that we set up, and input our password, and go ahead and log in. The tenant has not synced. The tenant hasn't synced yet, most likely because we hadn't finished the deployment. The deployment probably wasn't done yet. I'm going to go ahead and log in to back office here. Check our tenant status. So it's important. Oh, our status is still new. Oh, because we never deployed it after we issued our license. So we issued our license, and now we're going to go ahead and deploy the tenant. So now you can see that it's status in provision. So this will take upwards of about 5 minutes to actually provision the tenant. Sorry, I thought this had happened while I was resetting the password, but so we'll go ahead and pause, and then I'll come back and show you the changes. It takes about 5 minutes. Okay, so we have finished our deployment of the tenant. While you're watching that, you can just go ahead and refresh the page, and the status will update when it's ready. In this case, you want this to say status active. So with that said, again, I'm going to copy this URL here. Come on. Copy that URL. I'm going to go ahead and log out of my back office because I don't want any authentication challenges. I'm going to go back to my tenant. I should get challenged for login again. And our login of test demo admin, followed by our password. Login must have been successful. Loading the employee self-service page. And there we are. Empty self-service page as expected. You can see that there's a tag up here at the top called trial that indicates it's a trial tenant. With that is everything that's needed to deploy a new tenant, all the way going back to the customer account, the tenant administrator, the license pool, as well as the tenant itself.